so mean I make medicine sick. That's bad.
This is combat culture.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning on this beautiful 19th November 2023. It's Combat Culture. I am, of course, your host, Oche Young Jollof Edache. And this is your show of your Sunday morning, Combat Culture Africa. It's been, I think, 4 years since we've had anything regarding combat culture as a podcast, as a show, as a broadcast, as a production. And the only way I can describe it is that, you know how in video games you have a side quest that you can go off the main quest, and that side quest can give you some experience or some extra goodies in life. I feel like everybody in combat culture had to go on their different side quests, and the results have been pretty crazy. And this live broadcast, this stream is a testament to that. So without wasting any of your time, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Oche Young Jollof Charles Edache. Young Jollof is the Instagram handle, and I am the host of your show today, which is called Combat Culture. And I think it's pretty important that, because this is a reset of sorts, we've reset the timeline. We used to do this podcast about 4 years ago, and then the disease with no name happened, and then we all had to adapt to new ways of living, new ways of doing things. And fortunately and unfortunately, the show took a hit. It took a hit. So the way I see it now is we're in a position where the emergence of combat sports globally is it's been nothing short of astounding. I've never seen anything like this before. Like, combat sports it's officially mainstream. Everybody knows about Israel Adesanya in Nigeria, and everybody knows about Kamaru Usman on some level, and that's only going to keep growing. And combat culture we happened to. Let's start here. What is combat culture? So Combat Culture Africa was the idea behind 4 young men in Abuja, namely Oche, myself, Mayo Icebox Okunu, aka the Minister of Fitness, Innocent Skelly Edache, aka my older brother, and Chidi B-Boy Demil Nwanko. At the time, this was about 2018, MMA had just begun to grow. And I think the events that sparked the global, the mainstreaming of it, if you will, was when Conor McGregor, at the peak of his powers, crossed over to train, crossed over to have his exhibition with Floyd Mayweather. And that was this big cultural mishmash. And you had the combat sport with the longest heritage, at least in public notice, which is boxing, crossing over with this new, fresh style, which was MMA. And it was this crazy thing. And I was one of the people that was drawn in by that whole event. Like, I remember seeing Conor, I remember being blown away by him. I remember going to the UFC, seeing his highlights, wondering, who is this guy? Why is he so confident? He's knocking all these people out. Then I started watching and I started checking. So for me, that was my jumping in point. And then over time, getting into the combat, getting into the shows, getting into the promotions, learning about the fighters, I decided to take the plunge myself. So I decided to start training MMA, not professionally. I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time, but I just wanted to learn it because I thought it was intriguing. And we began to train, and that was how I met my coach, who eventually became the co-host of this show, speaking about Mayo. And then Mayo is best friends with my brother. And then Chidi was a fresh guy on the scene. He had just come back into the country. So we all just came together, and it was this organic thing. Three of us were training MMA together. I was the greenhorn. I was the white belt. Chidi was more advanced in his training. Mayo was our coach, and we began to have classes. We began to engage. We began to. It was beautiful. Like and it all happened in this beautiful gym in Abuja called Body Rocks Fitness Studios. Massive shout outs to Body Rocks Fitness Studios because Body Rocks was at the forefront of MMA and by extension combat sports in the capital of Nigeria, which is Africa's most populous country. And having an environment where people could come, train safely, injury free, you could learn proper technique. It wasn't just some guy off the street teaching you. He was an actual ex-professional fighter with a solid record. And having that so early before combat sports was even like mainstream as it is now, that was really, really instrumental for the community. It led to a lot of different things. And one of the things it led to is combat culture. So combat culture, I always knew I wanted to do a podcast. When I was in the university in the UK, a bit of story time here for you. I was really deep into the fighting game community. So fighting games as video games, I was really deep into the community. So I used to try to organize live streams back then. So a live stream, I would get professional video gamers to come to my house and then they would play and then I would stream it on my computer. And it was a whole thing. Shout outs to GGL Shami, shout outs to Infectious and all those guys. That was a beautiful time of life. But I always knew I wanted to do I was going to get into broadcasting. So when I came back to Nigeria, I was thinking to myself, like weddings are so big here. What would it be cool to have a live streaming business for weddings? Which never took off. But then eventually I got into MMA, I got into combat sports, and I just said, I want to do a podcast for MMA. And the reason why is because all these fighters are so special. All of them. They have such amazing stories. Like every single fighter, especially in Nigeria, where there's no infrastructure, there's no government support, there are no private individuals or businesses that have invested millions of dollars. It's literally just regular guys like you, like me, that are putting their best foot forward with the little they have. So Mayo owned a gym, which meant we had a space. I was from the software development scene, so I build web applications for a living. So I'm like, okay, the tech side, I think I can handle that. I started learning video editing. That sparked up my whole video editing journey. Although I have that sparked up video editing, audio editing, commentary, analysis, so many different things. But it all came from that gym, like that's having that space. And we all just, my brother said, he'd like to do a podcast, but he had been doing some stuff on radio as well. And he was really into combat sports and combat culture, which is another reason why the name Combat Culture Africa came up. And Chidi was a coach. Chidi was the youngest out of all of us. Fresh guy, handsome, 9-pack abs. It's just a dream team made in heaven. Like I was like, okay, why not? Why we have nothing to lose. Nobody's expecting anything from us, and we started. So we did the first couple episodes. We started expressing our interest to do more stuff. We started attending physical shows. We started having watch parties. I have pictures of some of these just to show like some reference as the broadcast goes on. But we did a lot of stuff between 2018 and 2021. We even started promoting our own shows. We even started trying to get fighters signed with foreign promotions. We did quite a bit, quite a bit, and that's work that I'm forever proud of. And that's why the dream could never die, even when the pandemic happened. Our living conditions had to change. We had to adapt the way we were living. We couldn't let this dream die. We had to bring combat culture back because we've been to the back alleys of Lagos to go and organize shows with young boxers. We've done shows in Abuja. I've commentated. I've done analysis. I fought. I have a record of 2 wins and 0 losses, and then eventually went into analysis and broadcasting and started doing stuff from behind the scenes. Started trying to promote other guys, And I found that that's what I have more of a calling for, even though I still train as a fighter and as an athlete every day. And I still do everything I did as a fighter. But I just found that I could do more good, especially because what you, if you want to fight for yourself here, what's the point? Like, there's really nothing that you want. There's no belt. There's no accolade you can get. All you can get is fame, and I'm not really cut out for that particular style of thinking. So I started thinking about ways that we could better the community for the guys that are coming up, because there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of sharp guys, there are a lot of good guys, and it was just I've been that's the stuff that I'm more interested in, and this podcast is partly a reflection of that. So that's the back history. The pandemic happened, and then I decided to use the downtime from not having to produce this show, not having to learn new video editing techniques or whatever, to just get as much experience as possible. No days off, just everything I could do, live, breathe, and eat combat sports, from learning about history to understanding technique to learning about rest and recovery to everything. And I went into analysis. I've done a couple of videos on YouTube on that. And then I eventually got signed or started to represent the African Knockout as their commentator. And that led to a number of different things, which just further broadened my experience with regards to this sport and this business. And that's ultimately why it's time for the podcast to come back, because at least there's a lot more going on up here. I'm not just a lover of the sport anymore. I'm not just a fighter anymore. There's at least there's experience to draw on, and hopefully that will guide our conversations moving forward. That introduction was not supposed to be that long, man. I'm really sorry, but it's 11 minutes and 41 seconds. Dilly, it was good, bro. I'm just seeing that you're asking when the next fight show in Abuja is. I'll post answers to everything at the end of the show. So that is what combat culture is, if that sentence makes any sense whatsoever. Now, 11 minutes and 58 seconds into the show. The second thing, the growth of combat sports since 2019 and the local scene. So the local scene has, so what happened since 2018 after that whole Conor McGregor thing is you had the Three Kings era. The Three Kings era was the era of Kamaru Usman, Francis Ngannou, and uh, Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, who is right behind me, as you can see. And there was just so many crazy things happening. Crossover fights were being touted, belts were being won and lost. But one thing that you could count on at that point in time was that Francis Ngannou was going to knock somebody out. Israel Adesanya was going to style his opponents and win looking like a fresh guy. And Kamaru Usman was going to wrestle. Then eventually he started knocking people out like Jorge Masvidal. And it was this whole thing. It was cool to be a fighter. And you have to remember, we had been on the scene for like 2 years prior to this. So when the popularity began to rise for that, we would always just meet at the back of the gym and record after training on Saturday mornings. Like, you can even go into the history of this very YouTube channel and you'll see so many videos of us bringing guests over there, cramped up wardrobe like studio space, but we made it work. We made it work. It was nice. It was fun. Like, I really enjoyed those days. But what now started to happen was we started to get a bit more notoriety, a bit more notice based off of just what we've been doing, all our hard work, all because it's blood, sweat, and tears. Like, we would get in like injuries, physical injuries, getting all those things were normal. And you did it because you loved the game. You did it because you wanted to learn. You did it because you didn't even money was not even on one of our lists of things, priorities. We just did it for love. But as God would have it, God Almighty, it just began to bring a lot of blessings, a lot of opportunities, a lot more notice. And we started to see so many things happen within us and around us. So around us, the scene just started to take off. All sorts of people just started bringing money in. I want to run my own show. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to there was just all sorts of things happening. Shows, just you just open Instagram and you see somebody getting knocked out in Enugu State. You pick up your phone, you see that in Abuja next week there's a boxing show happening in the middle of a nightclub. You see, it was mad. It felt like a movie. That period of life literally just felt like a movie every day. There was always something crazy happening, and let's call them formative years because a lot of good decisions were made, a lot of regrettable ones were made as well. But what remained constant was growth. So that was when you now had the African knockouts pop up with mixed martial arts. They had the show on Netflix with Shegun Ogunoiki. Shout outs to Machine Gun Shegs. Shout outs to all those guys. I've commentated a lot, most of their fights. Really, really good guys in person. If you meet them, the AKO show gave them a platform to mount their identities, put on their talents on display. I know Shegs got a lot of good shine from doing that, which is good. You want your boys to do well. We started to have the emergence of indigenous local martial arts as well. So you had the sort of stuff like Dembe, local wrestling like Gidigbo, and people started trying to be creative and innovative with those ideas because you have to understand it's not you're not in competition with anyone. This is like the Wild West era of the United States of America. It's like everybody's trying to throw whatever they have on their hand at the wall to see what sticks. And ultimately, there's too much the sky is too vast for you to want to compete with anybody. Like that's how Nigeria is really. There's so much. It's yes, it's a third world country, but yes, that also means there's so much opportunity. Like everywhere you look, there's a problem to be solved. There's something you can do that can change people's lives and change yours. And fighting is one such avenue. There's just so many things. So different people around the country felt that same combat sports fever and they began to do their own things. They started to see shows online. You see Akalaka, I saw that online. I saw so many. And that has been happening over the past 5 years. Now, the thing about this business is many are called, but few are chosen. It's and what separates success from failure is vision. You can't look at a combat sports show, be it boxing, be it Muay Thai kickboxing, be it mixed martial arts, and say, "Oh, I want to do this one show today and make a bunch of money off ticket sales at the gates and sell a bunch of drinks, and then yeah, I'll make a profit." No, it doesn't work that way. Combat sports, it requires a tax of long-term commitment, and you have to have vision to do that. You can't just come in if you do it on one night because you're likely going to make lose on your first couple shows. You just will. There's too much volatility. There's so much stuff that goes wrong before, during, and after the night for you to think that you can just come in, make a clean profit. And if it was like that, then you'd be seeing combat sports shows everywhere. That's why you see a lot of shows that a lot of people do a show once and they don't do it again. You need to have vision. And vision in this context means investing in the community. Primarily, first of all, it has to be something that is fighter centric. You have to be able to tell the stories of the fighters. People have to be able to chart a history, a growth chart, and follow that and say, oh, I know this guy from this place. I know this guy from that place. This is where he came from. He fought on this show. His mom is from Oka. His father is from Benue State. Like you need to be able to do that. Now, that what that means is that you're not running a fight business, you're running a media company. What you're doing is telling stories. And the highlights that you get from those fights that the guys give you are your payoff because you own the rights to them. So you can use those rights to make more money down the line. It has to be a long-term investment. It's not something you don't make money on the night. So we saw a lot of businesses come and a lot of businesses go. And it's just the way the cookie crumbles. You can't really argue with it. There's no right or wrong way. Some people came, some people stayed. And you have to see now that while all of this is happening, there's all this crazy stuff happening globally as well. There's a parallel happening. So you have us at the bottom end, third world country, Africa. And then you now have the UFC, Top Rank, the PBC, everything on top, the people that we've watched and we've kind of learned, that we've been cultured into combat by. You have all these more crazy things happening. Most recently, you have Francis Ngannou crossing over from mixed martial arts into boxing. You see, I almost said beating Tyson Fury, but that's how etched into my memory that performance is now. And the potential for growth is now becoming even more staggering. So now think about the psychological effect this is going to have on managers. Think about the psychological effect it's going to have on competing athletes in boxing and MMA. And then you now have the scene, the combat, the mixed martial arts in this case now scene happening. There's a whole case happening with the UFC, which might affect contracts in the UFC. And if fighters end up having 2-year contracts and they have more flexibility in what they can compete in, then Francis Ngannou may just have been the pioneer, the first guy to usher in some new age of athlete negotiations. Who knows? But basically, what I'm trying to highlight, rather poorly, if I do say so myself, is that as the global scene is progressing and changing, and there's all these different opportunities happening, popping up for the athletes, for media, for nutrition, for health, for everything, for physical rehabilitation, everything. So it's happening in Nigeria as well, just in trickles. It's happening. And I've seen so many things just happen recently, things that I thought maybe would take maybe twice as much time to happen, just happen within the space of months, because everybody on that realizes that there's a bubble of opportunity that is about to pop. And if you can be at the forefront of that development before it happens, then great things may come your way. So really smart people have been doing stuff behind the scenes to try to develop the scene, to try to develop their products, develop their brands. I was more trying to develop myself. Getting into any of this was just to develop my skills as a communicator. Communication is something that I've been obsessed with for a long time, and I just wanted to be good at it. So opening a YouTube channel, all of that, even fighting, was just to get better at communication on some level. I missed a lot of other things, sure. But as the whole growth of as the whole growth of combat sports has taken place, there have been a lot of opportunities. And that now leads me to the third point, which is combat sports is a sea of opportunity and a lot is happening. And I don't want this to just be a storytelling opening episode for this show. I want this to be, if possible, to just be able to shine a light, just be a lighthouse on the coast that just shines a light to a lot of people that may be wondering how they should get into this sport or get into it while it's still developing. Maybe there's something you're interested in. Maybe there's an innovation that you have, and you can't do it on your own. Nobody can. You have to develop yourself to a point. Then you have to collaborate. And if this lighthouse can do anything, it's maybe just hopefully point some direction to the opportunities, the things that are happening. And the reason why I'm saying this is because other podcasts may be able to afford focusing on the news, focusing on the highlights, focusing on the knockouts, and that's cool. But we're in Africa, like we're in Nigeria, and we all know that even just having the internet to stream this, even me streaming this now, anybody in Nigeria that watches this and looks into my eyes now knows that just living here right now requires sacrifice. And what we should all be doing is giving each other ways to make the whole struggle just a little easier. So just make being able to buy the data for you to watch combat sports just a little easier. to be able to give you the locations you can go to get quality training. So as a guy, young athlete trying to come up, you don't just go get yourself hurt in any gym or in any back alley place. No, we hope that we can give you value. So opportunities. The first one, first and foremost, is for the fighters. Fighters are the most important thing. Fighters are their treasure, their gold. We need to nurture. We need to keep those guys healthy. We need to keep them safe. So many of them are young, and the injuries, the things that they go through, even just being able to afford paying a gym membership every single month, guy, please. Everybody is a human being, just like you, man. Every single person, and yeah, so for fighters, where can you get quality training? Now, me, I'm in Abuja. Abuja is a place that is a very small city. It's very tightly knit community. We so it's easy for you to get referred to quality training very easily. The places I would recommend. So if you want to get fundamentals for boxing, you want to develop your skills as it just polish for boxing, then Pinnacle International Fitness on Sheo Shagari Way in Maitama is run by a really, really good guy, Marcus. Go there, Marcus Cortez. Go there if you need training for boxing. If you need MMA training, you can go to two places that I'm aware of right now. I know of Body Rocks Fitness Studios. That's where I had my first shine, developed, built, grew, eventually started off a career. Awesome people, awesome team. Have a great, amazing relationship with them till this day. Maya will be on the show very soon. And then you can also go to Taurus Martial Arts, run by Machine Gun Shegs, also a good friend of the show. His birthday is one day before mine. We celebrated our birthdays together in my house like 3 or 4 years ago. Shout outs to the whole Taurus Martial Arts scene. Shout outs, I've trained with them, sparred with them. Amazing guys, dope guys. Shegs even walked me out on my second fight. Great guy, great guy. You can go get quality training from them there. I've also seen High Guard Martial Arts, and there are a few of them. Instagram is your friend. Be curious, ask questions, DM us. Combat Culture Africa will definitely point you in the right direction. And that's just for fundamental training. The next thing now is promotions. Like now with okay, so the fighters are usually at the bottom end because more fighters need money, man. Like even myself, like when I was a fighter, like I remember how poor. Like in fact, I'm still poor, but but back then, like when you and especially because your body is always banged up, your eye is always paining you, your jaw is paining you, you're doing strength and conditioning every day because we're training 6 days a week. So I train 7 days a week now, but at least I don't need to worry about sparring every other day. Like at least I can focus on keeping my body healthy. Back then, there was so much damage just from training. Then you now need to eat because your body is just in a state of constant healing. So you're always eating. You're always eating and you're burning fat all the time. So you're just in a state of just eating, then training, then sleep, then training, and you're always tired. So spending all that money on food, spending all that money on all that stuff, it's expensive. So fighters are usually at the bottom end, and that's why they're prize fighters. You should pay them. You should pay them handsomely to fight. That's how it should work. Now on the other end, you have promoters. The thing now is most people think when they think of show promoting, they want to just do it. They just want to make it a party. Like Nigerians just want to celebrate everything. You just want to make everything a bedroom. But no, it's primarily about the fighters. You can't be prioritizing performances and artists over the fighters. The fighters are the artists. It's called the martial arts. It's the art of war. You don't sideline the talent just because you want to turn a profit on one night. And that's why most promotions fail. Now, so promoting, I already said it before, there's no need to rehash it again because we're already 30 minutes into this. You have to have a long-term mindset and it has to be primarily focused on the development of your athletes. And you have to think about it as very much like you're building a bank of media, high quality media content that you can use and be innovative with over time. That's what gets you profit. That's what gets you long term. Don't worry, we'll have a show on that specifically at some point, the business of fighting, and we'll get some really sharp minds on board to come actually go really deep into it. But yeah, you have to have a long-term mindset. You have to be athlete focused. And then what that means is you have to build really, really strong networks and collaborations. So, and your collaborations have to be really strategic. So everything has to still boil down to the betterment of the athletes in some way. That's how you get credibility, and you can begin to get sponsors and partnerships and investments. So health insurance, make sure your guys are all covered with health insurance. Nobody in Nigeria really cares about that right now. So if you do that, great. Like, you're already ahead of the curve. Think about think about the medical staff on ground, but don't just think you don't a medical doctor is not a cage side or a ringside physician. Very different things, very different skill sets, even the ability to operate under pressure. Because if just a fight arena, have a doctor being able to make an assessment and give his prognosis on the spot without, while the crowd is screaming boos, they are unhappy because the fight has stopped, because the doctor, it's not just any doctor. There's a particular skill set that is required, particular mindset that is required for that kind of job. And so if you're a doctor, we have this mass emigration of doctors out of Nigeria right now. If you're here and you're trying to create a niche for yourself, why don't you look into being a state cage side physician? Tell me one other cage side physician you know in Nigeria right now. You would be one out of 210 million people. Boom. Start building connections. Start trying to find ways to connect yourself with the right people. Start that's how it because it's happening. It doesn't care. Like, this development, this innovation, it really doesn't care. It's like whoever is ready will be picked. There's no good or bad people here. There's no I'm qualified. There's no I'm a no. It's, are you ready or are you not? So yeah, um, health insurance, um, stage cage side physicians, ringside physicians, um, broadcasting. God, man, that's another one, because that's what now separates the wheat from the chaff. The ability to go from being able to pre-record, even what we're doing with this podcast now, the ability to say, yo, we're no longer recording a pre-recorded thing, then edit it and cut the bits we like out and keep the bits. No, we're going to go live. It's just, it's the next thing, it's the next challenge, it's the next way to make things better. So let's do it. That's the next thing. Broadcasting. Most people think, oh, we'll just get a cameraman, get a camera crew, get NTA News, we cover. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. It's a really specific skill set. Everything has to be specific to fighting and to fighters. So it's a lot of learning. There's a lot of people online that will provide you with deeper resources. This is just to provide just my thoughts on all of these are so vast, and it's, as this is just meant to be an introductory episode, so there's no need to go into too much detail. It's just, for years now, it's felt like we've been screaming some things, and unfortunately innovation and growth can only come from within. We have to start tapping our individual potentials. We have to tap it within ourselves, then tap it with one another, for people to have better lives. That's the only reason why any of this matters. We need fighters to start getting paid better. We need them to get better health insurance. We need doctors to have opportunities. We need health insurance companies to come in and tailor fighter specific health insurance policies and plans. You need all this stuff to just start internally. Don't wait for anybody. Don't wait for the UFC. Don't wait for PBC. Don't wait for anybody, bro or sis. If you're anybody and that has a skill set right now, and you love combat sports, and you want to be a part of Combat Culture Africa, it starts with developing what you already have, and that's all it is. So we need to start. We just need to start get the ball rolling, and that's what this first episode is supposed to be. Permit me while I sip some lemon tea, please. But yeah, so all that being said, things to come and what to expect from combat culture. So we're going to be doing this show every Sunday by 10 a.m. My goal is to go for my morning run, go to church, go to for my morning run, reflect on the fights that happen on Saturday night, aka and oh, we just got some comments in the chat. Okay. And so, oh yeah, shout outs to Dilly, shout outs to Wavy Jones. Wavy Jones, I know who you are, bro. Don't come here and be. Anyway, we're going to be having this show every Sunday by 10 a.m. West African time. That's 10 a.m. GMT plus one. As GMT is London Greenwich Meridian time, right? That's where the Greenwich Meridian line runs through. So plus one of that means that's West African time, which is where we are. So if you're in London, you're 1 hour behind us. If you're in America, in New York, I think it's 6 hours behind us right now. But basically, 10 a.m. every morning after the fights are done, have some time to process it, clear your head, do the show, talk about what needs to be talked about. We're not a news outlet, although we will cover the news once in a while. A lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about is going to be really Africa and Nigeria centric, specific to combat sports as a whole. We want to have specific personalities come on board. A lot of fighters, I want them to come on board, share their stories, talk about their training, talk about their experiences, challenges. A lot of fighters. And I'm talking fighters from West Africa. There's a guy I really want on this show. His name is Ananias Mulumba. Please check him out on Instagram. I believe his Instagram is Ananias underscore Mulumba. That kid, special, special. He's from Democratic Republic of Congo. He is special. And the only challenge now is he speaks French, and I don't speak French. So we would need to have someone to translate. But those are the kinds of people I want on the show. I want Maxwell Kalu from African Warriors Fighting Championship. I want Marcus Cortez of Pinnacle International Fitness. I want Shegs, Machine Gun Shegs underscore MG on Instagram. One of Nigeria, possibly one of Nigeria's highest ranked or most skilled middleweights come on the show. I want Mayo, the Minister of Fitness, show promoter, former fighter in the UK as well, come on the show. I want Des. Oh shit, not Des. Oh god, man, this is why it's hard to do it live. But yeah, there's so many people. I want Kennedy Nzechuku. I want Melvin, the African sniper, got viral knockout KO on the African knockout a year ago. I want him on the show. I want you guys to see all these beautiful people, all these beautiful Nigerian people with their struggle, with all the challenges, without electricity at home, without running water in some cases. Like me, some days when there's no light, when they take the electricity for like 12 hours, some days over 14 hours, water stops flowing. But you have all these guys with all these challenges and they still go to the gym every day. They're still training, they're still putting their best foot forward. Their stories need to be told. And hopefully, by the grace of God, we're going to tell all of them. And that's what you need to expect. On the side, we're bringing back Technique of the Week. So long-term combat culture fans, you guys, if you go just check combat culture out, you can see Technique of the Week, where we take a martial arts technique every week and we break it down. Like we break it down, how it starts, how it progresses, how you counter it, everything. So that's what we're doing. It's already in the works. Chidi is going to be at the forefront of that. I'm going to be in the back in the scenes doing magic and try to make sure that everything keeps working the way it does. And yeah, more growth, more blessings, more collaborations, more opportunities. The best is only we haven't even seen what is yet to come. Like we haven't even started the work. This is not like so many great things are going to come up very soon through combat sports, through boxing, through mixed martial arts, through Muay Thai, and we're going to be there to tell the story. That's the plan. So, without further ado, let's see. Oh yeah, please, please, please. We're supposed to do social media shout outs. Combat Culture Africa on Instagram, on Twitter. Send us a mail at combatcultureafrica@gmail.com. Send us a mail. If you want to read me specifically, send me a mail at thenigeriannerd@gmail.com. Give us a follow. Like, why not the support? That's the best way to support. Like this video as you're watching. Please subscribe on YouTube, then follow us wherever you see fit, and it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be a fun ride. So why don't we tackle our questions? And we have a few guys in the comments. All right, so we have Dilichi Ohabwire. If memory serves me correctly, Dilichi is none other than my first opponent from my first amateur fight in mixed martial arts. If you're still on the broadcast, Dilly, please say what's up now, like so we can know if you're if you're who I think you are. But while that's going on, he says, when is the next fight show in Abuja? Man, I don't know right now. Like we're all dealing with fuel situations, we're all dealing with power situations, we're all dealing with with the flux of dollars and how everybody's is basically surviving the best they can. Like I as I'm talking to you now, I've never had to be this economical with my movement and logistics in my entire life, just because a gallon of fuel, or rather a tank of fuel, is so much more valuable now. So you have to imagine that whatever you are going through, the guys at the top who have money to invest in developing combat sports, in running shows, in putting in innovations together, broadcasts together, they're going through the same thing. So you'll see you haven't been seeing as much combat sports news online recently from within Nigeria, from West Africa. It just hasn't, and that's because the entire world is struggling financially right now. Everybody who isn't rich is going through, and which is most of us. We're all going through something. So I can't really provide you a date on when the next fight show in Abuja is going to be. No, what am I saying? There's a boxing show. In fact, let me give them a free shout out just because we rise by rising others, right? We lift by lifting others. We rise by lifting others. Lift by rising others. But yeah, Men City Boxing is having a boxing show on Saturday. I think it's on the 24th of November. Please go give them a follow. Men City Boxing on Instagram. They are run by a really enthusiastic guy, Chuma. Please support them. The show is happening in Calypso Park on the 24th of November, I think from 5 p.m. So that's the next fight show, but that's only boxing. They're not doing MMA. MMA requires so much more planning, logistics, foresight, and you just can't put an MMA cage. How many cages? How many people have MMA cages in Nigeria? Probably not up to five. And we're a population of 210 million people. So if you have money, you could go build one. You could start a business building MMA cages. I don't know. But yeah, so the next fight show in Abuja is Men City Boxing next week, Saturday. That's I might be there if work schedule doesn't collide with that. Let's see how that goes. So Wavy Jones asks, hi, can you speak about potential economies that can spring up around the sport in Nigeria? Ooh, that's a loaded question, bruh. But I'll give you a few. First one off the top of my head, apparel. See what I'm wearing now. This is my favorite running vest. I've worn this. I can't remember. I can't count how many times I've worn this in the past 2 years. But it's made by Under Armour. And for me to get this quality of apparel in Nigeria, I need to buy something foreign. That doesn't have to be the case. Everything, because you have to think about it, branding, sponsorships, partnerships, all that stuff. When the show when combat shows are happening, those are big markets that anybody who is like, okay, yo, I make boxing trunks, this is, look at my work, this is, I can do it for all. How many fighters do you have on your show? Okay, 24 guys, you have 12 fights tonight. Okay, that's 24 people fighting. Okay, I can do the trunks with a 30% discount for you because you're doing in bulk, something like that. So apparel, like high quality apparel, not just anything that you just wash, like some BYC material that's just like something you pick off H Medic shelves. No, you need something that can breathe, something that is second skin. So that's a potential economy nobody really pays attention to. I mean, some guys are trying, but like when I say because combat sports is so demanding, like you see how confident I am pulling this. Like if I've not seen stuff that I can wear like that and train with, and I can wash it and wear it the same day and it retains its quality. And you have to think about it too. Like promoters need stuff like that, and they need high quality stuff without having to import from China every single time. So apparel, first thing. Second, health insurance, bro. Like I can't see, like, if you can just have an athlete focused health insurance plan, like if you're a health insurance company and you can just come up with a very well thought out athlete health insurance plan, then on top of that, you can now have a fighter centric health insurance plan that covers massage, covers rehabilitation, covers rest and recovery, covers your scans, your blood work before your fights, covers everything that you just, and then the fighter just needs to pay maybe the whole thing, maybe they just have to pay 10,000 naira. If you could do something like that, like, because you're solving a genuine problem, injuries, soreness. It's There's no athlete, there's no fighter that will not tell you that their body is not paining them almost all the time. As long as they are training actively, yo, I guarantee you, yeah, it's soreness every day. You're recovering from something, your body is always, so that's why you have guys that are always doing cold plunges, cryotherapy, then heat sauna, then you start hearing about heat shock proteins, start hearing cold shock proteins, and it's all, it's because the health is so important. It's like the biggest part of the sport that nobody ever talks about. People want to see knockouts, but what happens to the guy getting knocked out after the knockouts? Eh? Like, what are we going to do about him? So, health insurance, man, if you can cover that, because another thing it gives you is credibility, which is more important and more valuable than money. Credibility and a solid reputation. So, if you can just do that, just make sure that it gives your, so yeah, let me just put those two out there. Health insurance and apparel. If you could just have somebody, those are two economies that I feel people would benefit from. I feel like anybody with a sound business mind, good judgment, good critical thinking, solid character, and good intentions can start up a business that would make a good amount of money from there. More lemon tea. Because talking is actually pretty demanding. So, what is the most beneficial thing you gain from fighting? Hmm. um Self-awareness. Yeah, self-awareness. I I I stopped caring about a lot when I discovered fighting. Fighting changed my life. So I just discovered, and I discovered who I was. I discovered fighting is what has led to this whole podcast. Fighting has improved my ability to speak, communicate. Fighting has improved my ability to focus. I can't count how many times, like my anytime I would be sparring and Mayo would be screaming instructions. Like on fight night, my first fight, for instance, there was so many people cramped up around the cage, so everybody was screaming every time. And the first round was very active, which funny enough is the first round, which Dilly that I was asking if he's the one I fought. That was my opponent if he's the one. And the cage was really cramped, a lot of activity, and it's a small cage. So every time you would throw a punch, everybody would scream, "Hey, punch out for Bele, kick him, hey, La Shoka," all the Nigerians now, you know us. So while everything was happening, I remember that I could not hear anything. I couldn't even hear the MC screaming. Like there was so much chaos and noise. But you know, one thing I could hear? Mario's voice. Mario's voice was so clear to me. And if you know Mayo, shout outs to Mayo Icebox Okunu, my first coach. If you know Mayo, you know Mayo is not a very loud person. Mayo's voice is very faint. But I could hear Mayo say everything. Oh, Chester, use your jab. Oh, okay, yeah, control his head, control. I could hear him, and that was a superpower. Maybe I'm just like it. You know how you train dogs, and then they get so conditioned to getting a treat after you give a verbal cue that whenever you give a verbal cue, they just do it because they expect a treat, and then you just train them to just do the thing regardless. I hope I didn't just butcher that explanation, but maybe that's what Mario has done to me. Maybe he just hypnotized me, and now every time I hear his voice, I have to do what he says. But yeah, ability to focus, improve that. Physical fitness, I fixed so many things about my body that I never thought I would fix. Hip mobility, shoulder mobility, man, breath work, fasting, meditation, fighting opened so many things to me. I just became who I was. Like I became who I already was, or who I forgot I was over time. Because right from when I was a kid, I wanted to fight. Like I was obsessed with kung fu movies. I was obsessed with Hollywood action blockbusters. I was obsessed with all that stuff. Power Rangers, anything that got adrenaline pumping, testosterone. That was me. And I always felt like I would never get the opportunity to do that again until 2018 when I walked into the gym and life changed forever. And I decided to take that step and I trained under Mario. And so I would say the biggest gift fighting gave me self awareness. But I gave you the short answer, I gave you the long answer. I hope that was good enough. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's been a good show. This was meant to be a proof of concept. It says we have two. I think we peaked at 4 viewers. Merci, merci, my friends, you for tuning in. It's I know it takes a sacrifice to be up at this time on a Sunday morning. For Nigerians, people have to go to church. People have to do stuff. God bless you. Thank you. Um, I look forward to seeing you guys. You're going to be seeing much more from us soon. So the idea is for this to be the long form content on YouTube. We chop up the bits that have the critical bits of information, export those to Instagram, Twitter, the like. I'm behind all of this. The guys are coming in back gradually. We're going to have Skelly, going to have Mayo, going to have Icebox. I have now guests on board. It's going to be beautiful. Now, it costs a lot to keep these lights on. It costs a lot to put all of this together, get everything. And so if you want to support the channel, you can check out our Patreon, which I think is linked underneath this video. If it's not, I'll edit the description earlier. Patreon will give you access to early content, unedited stuff, full length and breadth of everything that we do for every episode. So this week's one will be going up over the next 2 days, and people who have that will have access to that and early access to next week's content, which I hope is good enough incentive for you to part ways with $5 a month via Patreon. Yeah. So now that all that's done, if you want to give us more of your support and love, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube, please, free, like the channel, the video, and yes, before I forget, one more thing. So, just as a final farewell, I just wanted to show some stuff, that some of the highlights of what we've done in the past. And so this was in so that was Lagos in 2021. That was my first gig to handle commentary interstate. I'd always been doing local shows. Back then, I'd never made even 1 naira from commentary. So it was my first opportunity to go out and have access to a broader audience. We're going to VI, I believe it was Baturi Brewery. Shout out to Baturi Brewery for giving us the opportunity when nobody was giving combat sports a chance or a shot in Nigeria. And you have to understand, like we're working together, but we're all really good friends. So if we're all together, we're just joking, we're just being classless, we're just being senseless, but it's fun. And we had been in Lagos for I think maybe 2 days and we hadn't slept. All we were doing was just eating and just going to the venue and meeting with fighters and getting things sorted. So we were just sleeping on the entire ride. And those are a lot of the stories that I like to tell. Just the struggle. It's because you can see when everybody has been touched up and is wearing their suits and they are doing, it's all looking nice and live. It can be take away from the fact that it takes a lot. That there's a real amount of suffering that goes on in the background, but it's all really worth it at the end of the day because the memories are nice. And then this is just the final one. Because of one person.
Yeah.
And we all know who that person is.
100%.
Dana Black.
Hey, I actually looked over like, who's the person?
Wait, what?
I am the person.
You mean you don't know your Dana Black?
Dana Black in the hips.
Yeah. So, like, my prominence of combat sports in Nigeria is kind of ridiculous right now, and it's largely due to your efforts. How do you feel about that?
I think every day is kind of like, I have to like take it in a bit.
Yeah, so that's the old gang. That's when we could all meet physically in person and do it together. But thank God for the internet innovation and 2023, where we can do everything virtually without having to meet each other in person. So I was supposed to cap this at 1 hour, so I think I have 6 minutes left. I have some pictures, and I think it's only fair that I put that up. So just give me a moment. Figure this out. Share screen and open the window, and boom, by the magic of technology, yes, you should be seeing my face. And yeah, so I'll give you a bit of context. This was Rock's Fight Night 3. I headlined this show. This was my second fight. I won via TKO, via strikes. It's on my Instagram somewhere. I'll share it on the stream one day. And this was when I was a fighter. This was 2019, 2020. I don't recall anymore. We need to check sometime. Then this was the African knockout. I was here in person for this. This was my first time commentating with the African knockout, and as you can see, a really handsome and dashing Kamaru Usman in the background, the Nigerian nightmare himself. And I think that's Victor Stone, and his opponent is to the left is called Kazim. I hope I'm not butchering both their names. Beautiful ring girls in the background, and yeah, it was an honor to be here. We got it done. This was a really good opportunity, a good way to interact with the wider community in Lagos and just see the growth of the sport and it was happening in Lagos while it was happening in Abuja as well. Always nice. Oh yeah, so it's the money shots after I got my TKO. Yeah. Good stuff. Good memories. Good memories. And this was the old setup. We have Marcus Cortez of Pinnacle International Fitness, got Chidi in the background, our handsome young resident ninja. I have me, Mayo, and Skelly as well. This is where we talked. I'm going to have Marcus on the show again soon. These are good minds. Everybody has developed in so many different ways. It's going to be good to catch up again soon. And this was after training. That's El Dino at the back. Look at August to the left. I think August still had long hair here. That was me in the middle. I was much bigger here. Now I'm leaner. I cut off so much. I was 76 kg here. Now I'm 69 kg. Well, because I fast every day now. But Kamayo still looking trim and excellent. And that's Shemek to the right. Beautiful. He was visiting from where I can't remember, but he was with us for a short while. But he was kickboxer primarily, Muay Thai guy. Good times. Then this was me and Marcus. Marcus was my boxing coach. Marcus was the person that taught me about timing and feinting. Those were the two big gifts Marcus gave me, and I will forever be grateful to him. We fostered such a good relationship. Coach and student initially, now we're just good friends. Good guy, good guy. I can't wait for you guys to see him. And this was when I was now a coach and I started coaching people. I started training people. That's my face on the background there because they put my face on the wall of the gym, which I thought was cool. And I used to train and coach. I used to teach people, and this was a good time as well. Good time. Shout out to Body Rocks Fitness Studios. Then this was when the commentary gig started to roll in more actively. You can see me and Skelly doing the commentary, and Mayo Icebox, Dana Black himself, watch it from the shadows. And I racked up a lot of experience points in this time doing a lot of shows. I was doing them for free. I wasn't even taking money. Like I was doing shows for free. I could do 2 shows in a week, 6 hour shows in a week, and I wouldn't ask. Like I just wanted experience, and it paid off. Then we used to have viewing parties back then. You can see Chidi in the background, Fine Boy, Marco, I say Marcos, with Mayo, because it was Mayo's house. We were watching Israel Adesanya get the belt for the first time. This was a good, and that's the Combat Culture t-shirts. We're going to bring those back soon if there's interest. And then more commentary. Chidi was a referee at this point. I'm now a commentator from Fighter. Mayo is still a promoter, and shout outs to unpaid sponsors, unpaid pod sponsorships. And then that's my guy, Steve Sarah. This was AKO checking the cage, getting everything ready before the show. Kamaru Usman was present. Good vibes. I think that's Ken. Yeah, that's Steve and Ken. Good times. Those are the guys that make the show happen behind the scenes. And yeah, so much has happened. So much has happened. Like we've all grown, we've all changed, and the sport has grown, the sport has changed. It has afforded me so many opportunities, it has afforded so many others so many opportunities, and we can't wait to have you guys along for the journey. So I think it's time we wrap this baby up. So where is my graphic? Yeah. If yeah, so if all of this works fine, please remember we need your support. Combat Culture Africa on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Give us your like, give us your loves, give us your support, give us your follows. For like this video on YouTube if you happen to have the misfortune of running into it, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, give us everything, and please check out that Patreon. It would help out a lot. All right then. So this has been Combat Culture Africa. My name is Oche Young Jollof Charles Edache. It is and it was my pleasure to be here, and I hope all of you have an amazing, beautiful, and fulfilling week. Bye bye.